Hello, whisperers. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's story. 20 years after the first outbreak, a crystalline pod was discovered inside the collapsed shell of an office block in northern Illinois. The scavengers who pried it open thought they'd found a power source, but what it contained wasn't machinery we recognized. It was a record, not digital, not paper, but something in between. The text inside was written in English, though not by any human hand. The phrasing was stiff, broken in places, as if learned piece by piece. Later analysis confirmed what many refused to believe. The writer was not one of us. It was something we once called a gray. According to the record, it had survived the very first 12 hours of the outbreak. It wrote years later, after learning our language, so that the memory wouldn't dissolve even in its own mind. What follows is that account, translated exactly as it was left. I write this after many cycles. I learned your glyphs slow from fragments of books I carried away. My words may not shape correct. Still, I write before memory fades. I came down from orbit into your sky. It was between your dusk and your night. The air thick with smoke, full of carbon fragments, metallic dust, burned oil. My instruments confirmed. Combustion residue, oxidized blood, high-temperature pockets. The city below pulsed with lights. From height, it looked like neurons firing without order. I chose a sector of industry to land. Machines with wheels stood abandoned, some still burning. Glass shattered in the streets. I stepped into the avenue. At once a human staggered toward me, female, near 30 cycles. Her skin pale, not gray, drained. Her arms clutched her abdomen where tissue was torn. Blood left her in heavy streams. She was not long for survival, yet she still spoke. One word, weak, full of fluid. Help. I registered her distress. I moved closer. Then came sound behind her, heavy steps striking asphalt. Another human, male, his face smeared with fresh blood, lips red, eyes wide but unfocused. He did not speak. He ran at her, fast, teeth bared. He struck her shoulder with his mouth, bit deep, tore flesh. She screamed high frequency, then broke into sobs. He bit again, pulling muscle away. She collapsed beneath him. Her blood spread in pattern across the ground. I measured loss. Terminal. Moments later, her body convulsed. Chest heaved, limbs jerked against pavement. Her breathing stopped, then resumed in violent rhythm. Pupils filmed white, her jaw hung loose, and a sound came, not speech, but a guttural hunger. I recorded time from death to reanimation, 43 counts, cause, transmission by bite. The male rose from his feeding, his throat wet with blood. He turned to me. She followed, moving with wrong balance, head twitching, teeth snapping. Both advanced. I raised the neural dampener. One emission struck the male's head. He stiffened, then dropped limp. I adjusted, fired again. The female collapsed beside him, their muscles slack, no further motion. Silence did not remain. From the street's far edge, more appeared. At first 3, then 6, then more, spilling from alleys and broken windows. They looked alive, but moved wrong. Limbs too fast, joints hyperextended, eyes unfocused. Blood on their faces, clothes ripped, some still carrying tools they no longer knew how to use. The first reached me, large male, one arm broken at the elbow, bone showing through skin. He lunged without sound. I activated the photonic scalpel. A thin arc of light traced across his neck. His head parted clean, rolled. His body walked 3 steps before it fell. Another charged. Female, hair soaked in blood, mouth wide. I cut at midsection. Her torso slid from hips, spilling organs onto pavement. She collapsed in halves. The smell grew dense, iron sharp, ammonia burning. Droplets sprayed walls, mist hung in air. They came faster, from doorways, from shadows, from vehicles overturned, always more, their voices a chorus of hunger. I worked precise, step, dampen, cut, each movement exact. One fell with head severed, another with spine bisected. A third collapsed inert after a mission. But for each neutralized, more arrived. The street filled with bodies, fluids spreading in pools. Calculation untenable. I withdrew. I entered a brick structure, door broken, air heavy with blood. Stairs led upward. I ascended, adjusting for traction loss from spilled fluid. On the landing, 2 human corpses, one chest cavity torn open, ribs gnawed, one smaller, throat missing, both inert. Second floor, survivors, 4. They crouched in corner, trembling, their eyes wide, throats vibrating screams when they saw me. They held crude weapons, a pipe, a knife, wood with nails. One rushed me, knife raised. I caught his wrist, bone cracked. He fell screaming. The others cried words I knew only partially. Devil, monster, get away. I did not kill. These were viable. I released containment mesh from recall node. Filaments spread, glowing arcs. They wrapped around the humans, binding. They struggled, but did not escape. Below, stairwell shook, dozens striking wood, stone. Their roars rose up. I turned the neural dampener toward them, wide sweep. Bodies dropped, twitching. Others climbed over, shrieking. I cut with scalpel. One beam severed 3 heads. Another split a torso, spray-coated wall. My dermal shield hissed as fluid struck, but still they came. I pulled survivors higher, their voices sharp in my ears. Words I did not yet know, but tone was fear. Help us. No. God. We reached roof, cold air. Smoke rose from towers. Fires spread. Above, my vessel uncloaked. I called it down. Below, the city wailed, streets red, lights failing. The outbreak had begun, and I carried life away from it. The survivors were secured. My containment mesh compressed them, bound in luminous arcs. I lifted them, their weight small. They fought, screamed, struck against light they could not break. Their throats produced words I half understood. Please, don't. Monster. On the roof, my vessel hovered. I signaled transfer. The pod opened, internal light violet. I placed the humans inside. They thrashed. One struck his head against wall, opened skin, bled down his face. Still viable. The pod closed. With one command it rose, vanished into cloak, returned to orbit. They were safe, preserved. I did not leave with them. I remained on your surface. My directive was incomplete. Observation required continuation. Below, the city pulsed with fire and screams. More infected filled streets, spilling from structures. Vehicles burned, lights failed. Sirens wailed until power cut them. Voices of the living carried upward, cries fractured by fear. I descended again. At street level, the infected surged in every direction. They collided with each other, fought over prey, tore at flesh without pause. Fluids spread across asphalt, pooling in cracks, flowing down drains. I stepped into motion. One infected noticed me. Male, shirt torn, abdomen opened, loops of intestine dragging ground. He ran with no care for damage, his mouth wide, teeth blood-coated. I fired the neural dampener. His body stiffened, collapsed, face striking pavement with crack of bone. Another female came from side, arms outstretched, hands clawing, fresh scratches down her arms, blood not hers. I traced photonic scalpel through her chest. Tissue parted clean, sternum severed. Her body folded, fluid sprayed warm across my surface. I noted temperature, viscosity, pH. Logged. Then many came. A group. 7. They moved together, driven by noise of my tools. Some still carried objects from their life, a hammer, a bag, a torn phone clutched tight though useless. They screamed nothing, only hunger. They reached. I stepped back, drew scalpel wide, beam cut two at once, heads removed. Another's arm parted, bone sheared. A female lunged. I drove beam through skull. Her eyes burst fluid, her jaw still snapping until body ceased. The others pressed. One swung hammer against me. Impact registered but did not penetrate dermal shield. I fired dampener. His arm dropped, hammer clanged. He fell twitching. 5 terminated. 2 remained. They crawled over bodies, blood slick beneath. I cut them both. Quick, precise. Street fell silent but not empty. Corpses twitched, mouths still moving through bodies disabled. I catalogued. Nervous signal persistent post-neutralization, not full cessation. Then came sound. A group of humans, alive, running, 6. They came from alley, clothes torn, faces red with blood and smoke. They did not see me first. They saw infected at end of street. 3 infected turned, sprinted toward them. The humans screamed. They scattered. 1 fell. Female, young. Infected reached her, tore leg, pulled her down. She screamed high, pitch breaking. Others turned back, tried to pull her, failed. Blood sprayed from her thigh, painting their hands. They fled. She was left, infected, fed. I fired dampener. They fell, twitching, teeth locked around her still. She cried, begged. I did not move closer. I calculated survival time, minimal, bite present. She would convert. I left her. I followed the others. They ran down street, into building. They slammed door, though broken wood could not hold. I stepped after. Inside was dark, smell thick of blood and human sweat. They crouched behind counter, eyes wide. One raised weapon, firearm, low caliber. He aimed at me, hand shaking. He shouted words I recorded but did not then understand. He fired. Projectile struck my shield, deflected. They screamed louder. Infected broke through door behind. Wood splintered. Roars filled room. 4 infected rushed in, mouths snapping. Humans screamed, fell back. I acted. Scalpel traced arcs. Heads parted, blood sprayed against walls. One body collapsed across counter, twitching, intestines spilling out. Another headless, arms still flailing, struck shelves, knocked bottles crashing. The humans froze, their eyes wide, mouths open, their fear directed at me as much as infected. They whispered words, not human, not human. They did not attack again. I did not bind them. Too many. Mesh capacity low. I left them, moved further. Outside, chaos grew. Fire spread through block. Vehicles exploded, concussions shaking ground. Air thick with smoke and screams. Above, flock of birds scattered, disturbed by noise. Their patterns broke, spiraled away. I walked into open square. Many infected there, dozens. They tore at a man already dead, his torso ripped open, ribs cracked, lungs spilling. Another group fed on remains of animal, blood thick around them. I stepped forward. They noticed. Heads snapped toward me, jaws open, eyes wide. They charged. I raised dampener, swept beam. Many collapsed, bodies limp. Others ran past, leaping over fallen, straight for me. I cut with scalpel, beam through necks, torsos. Blood showered ground, sprayed across my shield, hissed as it struck. Hands clawed, teeth snapped inches from me, then parted clean by light. Bodies fell, piled, fluid flowing outward. Still more came, always more. Noise grew, not only of infected, but of survivors screaming somewhere beyond. The city consumed itself. I logged everything. I remained. I moved toward noise of heavy engines, metallic vibration across ground, frequencies low, steady. I recognized weapons deployment. Humans had gathered on a structure spanning water, a bridge of steel and concrete. At its center, vehicles blocked path, their barrels extended forward. Soldiers moved in formation, armor covering bodies, weapons raised. They believed the bridge could be held. I stood at distance, on rise of pavement overlooking approach. My optics adjusted. I recorded everything. From city behind, infected poured. Dozens at first, then hundreds, spilling through streets, converging on bridge. They sprinted, stumbled, collided, but all drove forward. Their voices roared in chorus. Shrieks, guttural hunger. The soldiers opened fire, weapons discharged, muzzles flashing. Projectiles tore into bodies, blood spraying. The first wave fell, holes through chests, skulls shattered, limbs severed. They collapsed in heaps, twitching. For moments, bridge held, but more came, always more. Bodies piled, but still they climbed, hands gripping concrete, teeth snapping. Soldiers reloaded, fired again, lines steady. Vehicles launched heavier fire, explosions tearing groups apart, limbs flying. Blood mist drifted across water. I measured, kill count high, yet ratio of neutralized to incoming unsustainable. For each terminated, many more advanced. The infected pressed into wall of corpses, crawled over bodies, jaws clamping still. Some missing arms, some shot through lungs, but none ceased until destroyed. Then break occurred. At left flank, soldier miscalculated reload. Infected reached him. Teeth tore his throat, spray across armor. He screamed, gurgled, fell. Others pulled him back, but infection already within. He convulsed. In minutes he would rise. Panic spread, firing lines broke. I descended closer. Infected swarmed bridge, pressing against barricades. Soldiers fired point blank. Blood painted steel. Screams carried across water. One vehicle fired shell into mass. Explosion tore many, ripped torsos apart, flung bodies into river. Limbs floated, water turned red. But more ran across corpses, climbing, leaping. At center barricade, collapse came. Dozens of infected struck at once, toppling soldiers, dragging them down. Mouths tore faces, stomachs, limbs. Screams filled air, mixed with gunfire. I stepped among them. One soldier, chest torn, reached for me. He whispered word I then did not know. Help, his throat filled with blood. His hand shook. He collapsed, eyes wide, then shut. I raised photonic scalpel. Infected lunged. Beam traced arcs. Heads parted, torsos open. Fluids sprayed warm, thick, coating pavement. My dermal shield hissed. Another came. I cut. Another sprinted. I fired neural dampener. His body stiff, collapsed. Others trampled him, but volume too high. The bridge shook with weight. Vehicles overturned, metal screeching. Soldiers screamed orders, voices lost in roar. Infected overwhelmed them. Armor tore away. Throats opened, limbs ripped. Blood ran across concrete, dripping through cracks into water. I recorded, human weapons effective but insufficient. Numbers negated technology. Fear spread faster than infection. One soldier detonated explosive at his position. Blast ripped many apart, infected and soldiers both. Fireball rose, bodies flung into air. Flesh rained down, burning. Bridge shook again. Survivors fled toward far end. A handful crossed, weapons dropped, eyes wild. Infected pursued, leaping over wreckage, crawling through fire, teeth snapping. The bridge was lost. I stood at center as structure burned, smoke rising. Around me, piles of corpses, human and infected both, twitched, bled, leaked across steel. The water below churned red with remains. I did not fear. I recorded. The humans failed to hold. Their plan collapsed. Their numbers fell. Infection spread without barrier. The city consumed itself, and I remained. The bridge failed. Human weapons ineffective. Their line broken. Their soldiers consumed. Infection spread across water into new districts. I calculated. Containment impossible. Extinction probable. Preservation required. I began selection. Criteria set. Age less than 40 cycles. No visible bite. No contamination of fluids. Mobility intact. Heart and lung patterns stable. Only such could be preserved. Others would be lost. I moved through burning streets. Structures collapsed, fires spreading. Vehicles overturned, some exploding, concussions shaking air, sirens no longer, only screams. At intersection, I located 3 survivors, 2 males, 1 female, all within range. They ran, pursued by 7 infected. I advanced, raised neural dampener, beam swept. 4 infected, collapsed mid-charge. Others pressed. I cut with photonic scalpel. Head parted, torso opened, fluid sprayed, pavement painted red. Survivors froze, their eyes wide, mouths open. They saw me, screamed, tried to flee. I released containment mesh. Filaments struck them, bound tight. They struggled, thrashed, cried words I did not then know, still viable. I carried them. Pod descended from above. I placed them inside. 3 added, number preserved, 7. I moved further. Inside market building, more survivors, 5. They hid behind shelves, clutching knives, pipes, 1 firearm without rounds. Infected battered front entrance, glass cracking. I entered. They screamed, aimed weapons at me. I ignored. Glass shattered, infected poured inside. 10 at once, shrieking, teeth gnashing. They leapt over counters, hands clawing. I fired dampener. 3 collapsed, twitching. Others lunged. I cut. Beam through necks, torsos, arms. Blood sprayed walls. Shelves soaked, floor slick. 1 headless body slammed into counter, knocking fruit into pools of red. I stepped precise, each cut exact, each emission efficient, infected, neutralized. Survivors shook, pressed against wall, their eyes fixed on me. 1 whispered word, angel. Another, demon. I did not respond. I released mesh, filaments wrapped them, 5 secured. I carried them outside. Pod descended again. I loaded them. Number preserved, 12. I continued. Through hospital sector, corridors filled with blood, gurneys overturned. Infected tore at bodies, jaws snapping, fluids dripping from mouths. Screams echoed from upper floors. I climbed stairs, found survivors, 8, young, some bleeding from scratches, not bites. They cried when they saw me, tried to hide, infected, broke through door behind them. teeth gnashing, arms clawing. I acted, scalpel traced arcs, heads rolled across tile, blood spattering walls, pooling under fluorescent lights. One infected split at waist, intestines spilling onto floor. Survivors cried, shrieked. I bound them with mesh. They resisted. One spat at me, another struck with fist, useless against light. I carried them. Number preserved, 20. Night advanced. Fires spread wider. Air thick with smoke, screams. Infected filled streets in thousands, running, leaping, tearing. Blood ran down gutters. Corpses piled. I moved methodical. Each hour, new group secured. In school, 6 survivors. In church, 4. In apartment tower, 5. In subway tunnel, 3. Each encounter, combat. Infected lunging, jaws snapping, fluids spraying. I cut them clean, heads severed, torsos opened, limbs parted. Walls streaked with red, air thick with iron and rot. Survivors watched, some silent, some weeping, all bound. By dawn, total preserved, 40, none older than 40 cycles, all viable, all carried to vessel. I did not know their words then, only their eyes. Some eyes hate, some eyes fear, some eyes hope. It did not matter, they lived. I recorded extinction of species probable, preservation completed, continuation ensured. I remained. Preservation reached limit, 40 secured. All viable, none above 40 cycles. Further collection risked contamination. Vessel capacity finite. City no longer city, only noise. Streets drowned in screams, engines fire. Infected moved in tens of thousands, filling avenues, climbing towers, tearing until nothing whole remained. Blood pooled, ran in rivers through drains, into water. I stood on roof of shattered structure, watched horizon red with flame, measured spread rate, calculated infection consumed 1 district per 30 counts, entire region within hours, entire continent within days. I turned from it. Pod descended, final recall. I loaded last of survivors. Their eyes followed me, wide, unblinking. They spoke in tones I had not yet learned. Some prayed, some cursed. None understood why they still lived. They ascended into orbit. I did not follow. Not yet. I remained to leave record. I carried crystalline pod into structure of steel and glass, collapsed but still standing. I placed it inside cavity of wall, shielded by metal. It would survive flame, collapse, water, perhaps be found, perhaps not. I sealed it. Only then did I ascend. Atmosphere fell away. Earth below glowed with fire, smoke, motion. Infection spread, visible even from orbit. Cities flickered, then died. 40 remained preserved in vessel. They slept, bound in light, unknowing of future. I recorded last words of surface, extinction probable, continuation ensured. Then I left your world. The record ended there. No more words. The crystalline pod was found exactly where the writer claimed, sealed in the wall of a ruined office block north of Chicago. Of the 40 it says were taken, no trace has ever been found, no signals in orbit, no returns from Titan, where the vessel was said to drift. If they survived, they did so far from us. And yet, the writing is real, too precise, too detailed. The voice inside is not human. Whether you believe it or not, this much is certain. On the first day, something else walked our streets. Something watched us fall. And something decided which of us were worth saving.